Welcome back to the Take the Initiative Season 5 Top Cut Games. Now we are in the quarterfinal, the top 8 game, and it's a quite interesting matchup against Boba Yellow, and I'm actually playing as you probably know, a good friend of mine, Adam, also from the Nordic Takedown podcast. ImSoHumble is his nick, and I'm not going to bother talking about my list now. So we're just going to jump straight into looking at his list. Let me put this up here on my main screen. So he talked a lot about, to me about kind of his frustration with the list he submitted, because he hadn't had the time to test Boba that much before entering or submitting. But he has some controversial choices here. For instance, the final showdown in the main, 3 bodies in the main, and no third Toro, no DJs, and only 1 hotshot blaster. So we've spoken at length about Yellow Boba being really good, and how he now plays almost the same list, but with 7 cards changed actually. So the bodies pushed to the side, 3 hotshot blasters, 3 Toros, added 2 DJs in there, and he is preferring the gunships over the cartel spacer, the 3/2 neutral aspect card. But interestingly, Adam really vouches for 3 Boba Fett's armor. I think that's a very reasonable play. A lot of people play 2, but I think playing 2 is more of a statement, where you say, okay, I don't think the card is always that good, I'm just going to play 2 because it's a little bit situational. But the thing you have to consider with Boba Fett's armor is, when you get it in the right situation against the right deck, you just insta-win. And therefore I think it's very much justified to play 3. So if you play against a deck without upgrade removal or without hard unit removal, it's just amazing, right? So I really like that choice actually. Boba into Han has always been a interesting matchup, because Boba has so much disruption and ways to kill Han before we get to double ramp. So it's not the easiest of matchups, but it's still a very, very fun one. And now we have Tech DJ. We also have some other ways of disrupting Boba Fett. So I think without further ado, let's go into the gameplay. There we go. So I won the high roll here. Sorry for the morning voice. We played yesterday, but I didn't have the time to record the footage, so we're gonna look back at it now, and I possibly have forgotten some of the things that happened during the game, so you're gonna have, or we're gonna share the experience of rewatching it. Resourcing Cloud Rider and the Marauder here. Then we at least have a 2-drop and a 3-drop to play on curve. And notably, I didn't mulligan to look for ramp, because we have the Confiscate, which is extremely important against Boba Fett's armor. Because if Adam gets to play Boba Fett and then play armor on curve, it's just over for us, to be honest. And here we're resourcing Falcon. I think that's a mistake, because this turn we're gonna play either Echo Base or DJ, not both. So it would be nice to have Falcon to kind of deal with space later. And I think I, in the moment, did it because I, in my head, thought, okay, I want to play either of those units. But then, of course, I should have decided that before actually resourcing. Here it's a little bit risky playing the Echo Base Defender, especially when we know Adam plays Hotshot Blaster and shoot first and so forth. But if he doesn't have that card, we get a quite good board state. And here I think Resourcing tech could have been better, because then we could have saved some card advantage. Another option would be to ambush into the 7 fleet defender, because if we don't deal with space, that's gonna be a lot of damage during the course of the game. But here I was kind of greedy, wanting to get tech out so we could play DJ with Smuggle now. But the thing I didn't think about is that that's a, of course, very telegraphed play. So here I'm just rolling the dice to pick what card I steal. That's a Syndicate Lackeys. Yeah, so what I was about to say is that tech into DJ is a very telegraphed play. Everybody knows about it by now, and that means Adam might be prepared for it. So we're gonna see the surprise strike into DJ, basically nullifying our turn. Yeah, I had forgotten to refresh the resource with Smuggle. I guess it's still a decent turn. We stopped 5 damage to the base, and we still have 2 units on the ground. But Boba is gonna drop this turn, and our opponent has only spent 1 resource. So it's not looking too good. Sorry about that. Yeah, so 2 7 fleet defenders now. That's definitely gonna be a problem. We have some ambush spaceships, but they're pretty awkward dealing with 2 defenders, because if we ambush into one, the other one will just clear out our units, and he'll still have 2 spaceships. So Bright Hope might be a little bit better. So here I'm using Han first, just to make sure that I'm gonna get to 7 resources. It would be quite risky just to deploy, because then a hotshot blaster, for instance, could just take out Han immediately. So if we're playing around the armor, we could attack with Marine first. But we have Confiscate in hand, so that's not going to be a problem. Luckily, because otherwise we would have been in a very bad position. So here I'm taking out Boba with Han, because I really want to play U-Wing to find some spaceships. Leia could also be good here to exhaust the fire spray, but this is a good example of a not so good U-Wing. We at least get a restore on the ground and a spaceship, but Bright Hope would be much better to stop 8 damage to our base. So I think this game, resourcing the Falcon early and playing tech instead of just a gunship onto the 7 fleet defender, was quite bad, because we have no chance of taking back the space arena right now. It's just damage control. And with 15 more damage on our base compared to theirs, then it's gonna be hard to raise. So we really need some miracle cards here. At least the Sundari Peacekeeper might be able to put us out of lethal range. So we have a eco-based defender and a marine in the discard pile for home 1, but here we're just looking at other cards to defeat. I find it much more difficult defeating resources with Han now, because we have to consider targets for home 1, but we also want to keep some good place for tech, right? So it's kind of a balance where you have to consider what you think is most important. Of course we have to top deck Han1 though if we want to make that play, but playing the oh yeah, we could argue that getting the restore first could have been better exactly for that play, but then we would have died to surprise strike. So at least now we can clear out the fleet defender with our gunship, so still get some use out of it. And remember, we still have tech amongst our resources, so we might be able to get some value there. The problem is we only have 5 power in space. And now if Adam kills Bright Hope and then claims, we lose because we have no cards in hand to stop it. Okay, we might top deck something, but that's a gamble. So what I'm thinking now is that I want to play tech this turn, so that next turn I can play the Bright Hope I have amongst my resources for 6. So I have to think a little bit about the sequencing here. I still need to actually have the initiative to be able to play Bright Hope from the resources, right? So I need to think, how can I keep the initiative as well? And now I'm trying to kind of bait out that I have more things to play, so that my opponent doesn't see the line and just claim. You could argue that Adam here, with only a spacer in hand, should claim to try to get the win that way, because now we can claim and play the Bright Hope. Yeah, so I kind of had to attack with Han to kill Bodhi there, because unless I would just die in the ground, right? So we are quite lucky to be alive. But yeah, defeating one of the 2 Hans here. And playing that Bright Hope for 6. So I'm gonna see Adam exhausting our gunship. Now we can restore, so if we get one more attack with the Peacekeeper, we're kind of in a safe distance. But now, doesn't look too good. There should be 2 more damage on the fire spray there. Maybe that's something we both overlooked. If there was 2 more, we could spend our first action next phase to kill the fire spray. But we can also smuggle in Leia from our resources. I definitely have to claim, but now, as you see, it doesn't really matter. We take 2 more damage to the base, and there are so many spaceships now. So that little misplay didn't matter in the end. And that concludes the first game. So I think the pitfall there was kind of ignoring space. It's not something you see that often with Boba, to be honest. That they just take over the space arena. But it's definitely something that needs to be respected. I don't know what we're waiting for here. Okay, there we go. Starting to side. I think the Peacekeeper was pretty nice, so I'm considering putting in a second one. Peacekeeper might be a contender for a main deck space. I think it's pretty good against aggressive decks, but as I said, my list is already teched pretty hard against aggressive decks. So I'm deciding to take out Greedo because it trades pretty poorly with the Crafty Smuggler. Removing an Echo-based defender here, I'm not that sure about. Yeah, and the Gunship and Cloud Rider. I think the Sentinel could be very useful. But I'm considering taking in some more late game cards, like the Walker here. Change of Heart is pretty nice against Fire Spray if we're in the end game. But still, I think I like Kira more, so that looks like what I'm gonna do. Put in a second Peacekeeper, Walker, and Kira. 2 Kiras. So then we'll go into game 2. Opening with resupply is really nice, but problem is we don't have a 7-drop, and if we don't draw that, then it's gonna be pretty awkward. Spark, however, could be good to deal with the armor. So we get some more 3-drops here, Peacekeeper and Falcon. Yes, Peacekeeper is decent on this board, but most likely our opponent's gonna play a 3-5. We know that Adam's list right now plays 3 Bodies, so that could be a reason for us to just resupply immediately. But if Bodhi takes out resupply, we still have a lot of great plays. But I'm risking it, deciding to trade first to prevent that 3 damage. And then resupplying. Resupply into lackeys, however, is great against those 3-5s. So at least we have that. But Adam has the initiative here, which means that he can at least get the attack in. And he had seen our hand, he had seen the lackeys, so he did pretty well in using the Hotshot Blaster here on Toro. Because now we are left with a kind of awkward decision. We could double ramp with Han, but then we'll have to spark and lackeys, which is not that good either. So I think I decide just to play lackeys. Could be the right choice to actually get Han out on the board and start to push a little bit of damage. So Adam gets to ready a resource here, and he says pass, so that probably means he has a no good to me dead, right? Because he left 2 resources up. I'm resourcing a Bright Hope, it seems. And I'm starting off with Spark. I'm not that happy to see all of these great cards. No good to be dead, of course, is pretty brutal. But I think armor is even worse. Now when we don't have a confiscate. So I'm picking that. And here I'm just baiting out that no good to be dead, because a cunning here would hit my base for 8 damage, which is pretty bad as well. So now he is forced to play the Boba. And we are kind of in a little bit bad position here, with Han being exhausted. Of course, it wouldn't be as bad if we had drawn a Han Solo unit or a Y-Wing. U-Wing. But with tech on the board, we can at least play something from our resources. The Boba unit gets to freely trade with Han, so that's pretty good. We might also see Cunning bouncing tech and giving +4. But I'm gonna spark here. And we're pretty happy about that, just getting rid of fire spray. Yeah, so we're gonna see tech being bounced and then 8 damage going to the base. Now we finally draw the Han Solo. It's a little bit late, but the restore from Peacekeeper is very nice. So we're gonna have to discard a random card, but luckily we have 2 Hans, so that's pretty good. Tech got bounced and we resourced it, so we can just play that again. Does not, I mean, we're happy if Adam decides to spend 8 damage on that, but instead he uses Surprise Strike to go 11 damage to the base, and that is a pretty big problem. The only thing that's keeping us alive right now is the Peacekeeper. So we're definitely going to use that first. And a Hotshot Blaster has been spent. 1 Surprise Strike has been spent, so it's pretty likely that we're not dead right now. And we do have a lot of great options in our resources to smuggle in, so hopefully we can deal with whatever Adam plays. It's gonna be a Syndicate Lackeys taking out tech, but I would say that's actually very good for us, because now at least we don't take the 4 damage to the base, so we're again out of range. And here we have a lot of cards in hand, so we're just playing the Marine. Super happy to see Ewing here. Han1 would have been a little bit better to get that restore, but at least it's not a 2-drop. Okay, so going in for the win here with the buffed lackey. Luckily we can find a lot of answers in Ewing. And here we have many different angles. We have a Sentinel, we have Han, just to take out that lackeys immediately. We have Leia to exhaust. And we have tech to kind of enable more plays in the next turn, so a lot of good options. And here I did a math mistake. Of course, these 3 units summing up to 8. So I'm gonna have to reconsider that option. I think right now, with no threat in space, we should focus our efforts on the ground. So the Sentinel is of course great, but if Adam has a waylay, for instance, then Leia is a second layer of security, just tapping out the lackeys. And that's 5, so then we can play the Marine as well. So Bodhi here is really bad. Nothing to remove, and we are now in a great position to just take over this game. Question is if we want the initiative or not. We could play Falcon and start getting some damage in, but I decide better be safe than sorry. Let's just take the initiative, and I am pretty happy about that decision because Kira is just amazing to get information about our opponent's hand. So we're just sorting out the resources. We're gonna see a very bad hand, so this game is basically secured at this point. Playing more ground units right now is not gonna do anything. So we're just gonna save Fire Spray actually, so that we're kind of safe from that angle. And here I'm going base with Leia because I want to bounce her with the Bright Hope to draw some cards. Maybe playing Tech would have been better from our resources. But bouncing Leia is nice, so we actually can replay her again. So I think Adam is passing here. Then I'm just taking out the Boba, because he of course has a second Greedo in hand, but now he realizes, okay, it's just gonna claim. I actually decide to resource a card so we can replay Tech, and then trade with Greedo. Maybe I should have traded first so that he couldn't do 2 damage to Tech, but he missed anyway, so it didn't matter. So we're all 12 resources right now. Pretty long game. And as long as Kira is on the board stopping Fire Sprays, I think we are... yeah, there's no way we lose that. So here I'm deciding to smuggle in DJ for 9 resources, because I don't really have any other great plays from the hand, right? So we're gonna see a Greedo. That might be a problem because the only unit we have to kill Greedo right now is Kira. And that means if they hit a non-unit card, she might die. But we have the Bright Hope in space, so we are pretty secured against Fire Spray still. Yeah, so Kira ends up dying, and Adam is claimed, so we can just start hitting the base. And now drawing Han1 is that's the final nail in the coffin. Because as soon as we start healing, there's no way to come back. Yeah, so I used Han last turn, so we paid for the Falcon with the stolen resource. So we have some great targets to get back, for instance Kira or Tech, but we're just going to exhaust the fire spray first, and then seeing the home one, Adam knows this game is definitely over. So that was pretty close. We managed to stabilize with the Han Solo unit when we finally got that card. But as you can see, the Han green deck kind of relies on getting either Han Solo, Ewing, or home one. If you just get the other units, then you're not gonna really have a chance to take over the board. So a pretty decent start here. At least we got to resupply, and DJ is also very nice to play on curve. But maybe we will top deck tech, and we could try another angle to steal a resource. It's not that good later in the later stages, because Adam will easily be able to just kill DJ, as we saw in the first game. But now resupplying into Syndicate like this is amazing, and this could be the turn where we double ramp, but if we wait to the next turn, we can double ramp into home one. Of course, that's pretty risky if Adam has a no good to be dead or something like that, but if he doesn't, then that gives us an amazing board state, because he can't do anything against home one except to bounce it, and then we're just gonna get more value from replaying it. I'm trading with the Guido here. Then I at least am safe from surprise strike killing Han. Not anymore though, because now Boba is on the board. But luckily he didn't have anything to deal with Han here. Gonna see lackeys killing Han. Was a very, very bad flip turn for Boba. And putting home one and Marine back on the board is just amazing. Especially because Boba has taken 4 damage already. So now comes the decision again. Do we want to defeat some cards for another home one, or just focus on what we don't need to smuggle in with tech? I'm taking some time to look at the cards here and decide to remove resupply and Guido. I think Guido should be kept in case we have a tech and no real good plays from hand. That's something that's not as expensive to smuggle in, so playing a Guido for 3 is decent. Here, just taking out the Boba, getting to restore from home one. And you can see that I'm not attacking with home one because Adam is on 6 resources right now, and we want to kill fire spray immediately. So instead I'm kind of just stalling that attack, playing some other units. But here comes the punishment. Change of heart is pretty scary. It's gonna put us to 25 damage. But the confiscate actually comes in handy now, because we can take out that shield and make sure that we can kill the 7th Fleet Defender in in the next turn with our home 1 as our first action. Restoring 2 also is pretty nice, so we're not in range. And here I think I was complaining to Adam, oh my god, how can you have a change of heart and fire spray? But he should be the one saying, oh my god, how can we have home 1 and Ewing? And luckily we hit the Bright Hope, which is all we needed. The question is, do we want tech so we have access to all of our resources, or do we just want the Peacekeeper to kind of heal more, or a Falcon to get some more damage into space? There are many decent options here. I think I end up with tech because we already have a decent amount of restore from home 1, so having access to our resources might be the most valuable thing right now. So here we could claim to deal with the fire spray, but I'm thinking better just start to push some damage and restore 1. I guess Cunning, bouncing the Bright Hope and buffing fire spray could force us to trade with home 1, but that's still good for us, so don't really have any cards to be that scared of right now. And I think Adam's going through the sequencing here, if he wants to play No Good to Be Dead first or attack with fire spray first. I think No Good to Be Dead first is a little bit better. If he attacks with fire spray first, he's gonna stop 1 healing from the Bright Hope, but then we're gonna get 7 damage in and heal 2 with home 1. So here there's some math to be done, looking at all the resources, seeing what we're able to play. We're definitely attacking with home 1 now that I knew that he had the No Good to Be Dead. It's going to see a second fire spray, but the Bright Hope is gonna block that, and Adam decides there's no way out of this game. And that concludes the best of 3. Adam and I had a lengthy discussion about Boba Yellow, and as I said, changes made to the list that probably would have helped out. Interestingly, we didn't get Ewing or Han on curve like we did against Sabine in the last game, but you could argue that against Boba, home 1 might be even better to get on curve if there's no answer to it, because then we have a very clear answer to fire spray, which is just a super powerful card. Alright, that concludes the top 8 game. That means we're gonna face either SIP playing his young Han green, or I think Kotool playing mono green pulp. I think both of those matchups are difficult. The Han green because it's aggro and we might just be overrun. And Palp has always been difficult for Han because they can just play it safe, get to the late game, steal your home 1, and then I'm sitting there speechless. But that's why we have those 2 change of hearts in the sideboard, so they are going to come very handy against Palpatine. But enough about that. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the semifinals game in the next episode. Bye bye.